at least as some of you told me during lunch, this workshop has given us the opportunity to reflect. And it has happened on the last day of the week. So maybe on the weekend we can reflect a little bit on what we discussed on Thursday. I hope we do that. If you go to your books in page 16, just briefly to explain to you what's happening in page 16. Page 16, I am telling you we have 3 types of decision makers. I'm not getting into economic, user, technical. I'm just telling you, in your current prospect accounts that you're dealing with, you have 3 types of decision makers. You have floaters, blockers, and champions. You have a question? Sorry. Now, think of a certain account you're dealing with at the moment. And write down the names of the people who are involved in that account. And write down next to each one, whom do you think is a blocker, whom do you think is a champion, and whom do you think is a floater? To begin with, as a start. For example, you say Carrefour. And you decide to say Mr. X is a champion, Mr. Y is a floater, and Mr. Z is a blocker. Now, after you've done that, write down next to Mr. X and Mr. Y and Mr. Z, write down what you think the degree of influence is. Now, what does it mean, degree of influence? Means how much they can influence the deal positively or negatively. Now, if you have gotten a champion, if you have gotten Mr. X, and he's a champion, and his degree of influence is H, that's good news. But if you've got Mr. Y, and he's a blocker, and his degree of influence is high, that's not good news. Because this guy is going to screw up my deal. If you've got Mr. Z, and he is a floater, and his degree of influence is low, then if I am to start negotiating and building rapport and building relationships and focusing my attention on one person, who's that person going to be?
Y.
Mr. Y, because Mr. Y is a blocker indeed, and he's going to block me, and he has high influence. Now, if he had low influence, and this guy is high influence, and he's a floater, where would I start? I will start with Mr. Z, because he's high influence, and he's a floater, so I want to convert him to being a champion, wanting my product. And the last thing I have is I leave time for me to talk about Mr. B. Now, before I get to your question, do I have an influence on changing the influence of my prospect influence? Can I change the influence? If, for example, this guy is low, can I make him high influence? No, because this influence comes from the title and comes from his company. But what I can do, I can change his status from being a blocker to become a champion, or from being a floater to become a champion. So I have an effect on this, but I don't have an effect on this because this is given by his company. And this is where we play a chess game. In the next page, you see like a chess game. You put a map, and you decide on whom you want to work first. Obviously, you need to work first on your blockers who has high influence and to move them into champions. Krishna.
See, all this information, if you have upfront, it's only then you will be able to plan your sales. Now, at the time of making our sales pitch, we do not know who is the champion. We do not know who is going to be the blocker or the floater.
Sure.
So, we only discover it as the process of sales begins. Halfway through, we come to know that so-and-so is a blocker. All the while, and we were wasting time because he's a low influence person.
Exactly.
So, this particular matrix will be useful only if you have the information upfront before you make the sales pitch.
Intelligence. If you have intelligence. If you have the sales.
Most of the practical situation, most of the time, we don't have this information upfront.
Right. So what do you do?
So we only discover it, and halfway through we may not have the right information. We may have chased wrong persons.
That's why if we have the right salespeople and we teach them the art and the skill of asking the right questions and having good pre-sales intelligence, then in this case the information that can be presented to you can be only managed by you or by senior salespeople who can really manage decision makers, or by you yourselves talking to people at the same rank.
And I think it's all about qualification, earlier qualification of the opportunity.
Exactly.
And help leading the salesman through understanding and building this rather than just knocking on.
You don't have time to go and knock doors. Remember, in crisis selling, we want high impact selling. And high impact selling is going to the right person at the right time with the right product. That's the strategy. You put in the strategy, he will do the tactics.
Or if you have a beautiful sales lead.
Yeah, but you think she will know the high workers and the high floaters and high? You know, ladies can do anything. You're right. I agree with you.
Yes.
Sometimes we don't have this information.
You might have
He's a very important customer.
I was surprised all the applications. She was always sitting beside the ambassadors and they had a shift.
Free selling.
American risk manager, I put them and for all these social activities, I was surprised. I was always in the room, maybe number 5 or 6, and she was always sitting beside the ambassadors. I told her,
She was sitting beside the ambassadors or on their laps? that's the question that we can answer later.
Of course, she came to
She can sit anywhere she wants. Okay, Krishna, any more comments on this? I agree with you one more time as a closing comment. Sometimes this information is not available for us ahead of time. That's why if we can, as a general manager, because we see the big picture, if we can train our soldiers, the sales team, in looking into these things and understanding, getting the information and the intelligence and the pre-call intelligence about who is doing what and who is a blocker and who is, of course, to know this you need to get into the deal, into the discussion. Then in this case, your role comes in to put your finger on the wound and deal with the right people and switch it from deal to yes deal. I know that during 6 or 7 hours of intervention, it will be impossible for me to tell you about everything related to strategy, related to business development. But I hope, since the morning till here, I hope that we have covered some of the points that you were expected to have in this workshop. I hope also that you've gathered information not only from what I said in terms of economy, not in terms of or in terms of selling and business development, but also from your colleagues who brought in good, useful ideas and meaningful ideas for their own businesses and for your businesses. I also threw in some of the points related to SPOC and some of the points related to cross-selling within the group, which I believe you also found meaningful. Of course, I observe and respect and appreciate the frustration that Vic mentioned in terms of not being able to push a button and realize it tomorrow. It takes time, but at least food for thought to put it on paper and do something about it. Remember, if we don't change, things will not change. And to start getting results we've never done before, we need to start doing things we have never done before. Maybe this workshop will provide you with some tips to do that in the future. Thank you very much for being with us today, for taking the time and listening to me, for taking the time and listening to your colleagues. And before leaving you, I would like to ask you to fill out those evaluation sheets, which are at the end of the book, or which are separate sheets in the book. Ah, you have your own? Okay, sorry, forget about that. Firas will give you his own. Firas will give you his own. Good luck. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon in yet another intervention or yet another workshop.
Mm-hmm.